I'm very happy to present you this today. Previously, I was a teacher in SP in Grenoble for teacher training, and I did a thesis about spatial configuration and of the classroom. So the first point, the initial point was this one. Before to teach in SP, I was a secondary teacher in physics. And I used to teach in such a classroom with walls. It's not the dream, but it is a space where you can teach. But September, I have a new classroom. And it was this one. It's the same area, it's the same number of students, but there is something different. There is a central table, and the teacher can't move in this space. It's not the same configuration. And this configuration is a nightmare, especially for group working. And my doctoral thesis is about this difference, how to measure the difference between these two rooms, and how this can modify the interactions. First, I go in the past, and the classroom are with these numbers of rows since a long time ago, Sumerian's classroom. It evolved slowly, and at the end of 18th century, there was monitoral teaching, mutual instruction, in very big areas with one teacher, several assistants who repeat what said the teacher to the students in the big room. And the other model was simultaneous teaching. It's a dominant model, and it's what we have today in lecture halls. But lecture halls have limits. One of them is a big number of students. Today at OPFL there is experimentation about streaming to transmit the course in another auditorium next to the full auditorium. There is no other solutions that different universities try in the world. And one of them is because there is problems with lecture halls. I present there 3 studies about lecture halls and their limits. First, there is a golden zone or action zone in the front of the room. Teacher is here. Students prefer to be in this area. The back is not is something disliked by students, but they can't all be sitting in front of the teacher. Another studies show that it's important for students to be in front of the lecture hall at the beginning of the lecture. Students sitting in front, randomly assigned by the searchers, have better results than students sitting at the back. The research of Perkins and Wiman, they put students randomly in the lecture hall, and at big term they switch students from front to back, and they observe that students sitting at the beginning in front of the lecture hall have better results and attended there was better attendance to the course. Sitting habits, another study shows that when students are in front, they have better performance than at the back, at the auditorium. So different universities try other configuration, like a scale-up configuration. All this configuration promote group work with round tables and multiple screens in the room. The scale-up study, it was a big classroom with 100 students They can work individually, or by 3, or by 9, 3 groups of students on a big round table for 9 students. When the teacher is placed in the middle of the room, there is multiple screens all around the room, and the results of this study show that there was no sitting effect at the end of the experiment. Grade A are all around the rooms. There is no back and front effect in this kind of rooms. My doctoral thesis was about group working, the context of group working, and I compared different configurations to answer the question how classroom configuration modify teacher movements and thus modify interaction in the classroom. I construct 2 variables. The first one was accessibility. It's laid on classroom mapping, only the layout of the room. And the second one lay on proximity, the teacher movements. The first is accessibility. The accessibility is calculated first by room mapping. I put the students in the room, where is the teacher desk, and where are the students. Then there is the spatial modeling of the space. I put the room plan on the map with grids, and I put on this map optimal interaction points, the green points. And then I represent the network between these different optimal interaction points, and I calculate the minimal cost path between these points. And with Wickerman, it's a geographical concept, I calculate the average distance to go to, for instance, these points from all other paths. And I can calculate global accessibility for the whole room. The results show that the COM configuration, the room I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, was the worst. Because the teacher has 7.6 meters to do in average to go from one point to another point of the room. And islands is shorter, better for the displacement, and bus is in the middle. Then I record teacher movements to calculate the proximity of the teacher. The teacher moves according to proxemics, even if he is not aware of proxemics. The teacher goes close to a group, far to another one, according to this law. The way he places students around the tables and the way he places himself to interact with students create a communication structure. And the sitting shapes the teacher movements. And the teacher is not a robot, he has knowledge, he has a professional cursus, and he accumulates knowledge along these curses. So he uses the space as an instrument, and he moves according to his knowledge. So the teacher movements and placements as a result of professional decision. It's not randomly that the teacher moves in the room. To have this movement, I track the teacher with an infrared device. There is 1,050, 100, and 500 points for each session. And with these points, I have a cartography of the teacher movements in the room. I obtain different cartographies, and with these cartographies, you can see how teacher move in the room, how he deal with the context, with the layout of the room. I measured topological proximity with all the 1,500 of points. I calculate the low-cost path for each point, and with Wickerman, the same way than from accessibility, I calculate the proximity with all the points. And results show that there was a correlation between accessibility and proximity. Accessibility was the first one. It depends only on the layout of the room and geometrical constraints. The second one results from decision, professional decision of the teacher. And there is a correlation between the two. The proximity values are lower because the teacher tend to close the gap. He's not a robot, and he moves fast in order to go to the students, to get close to the students, even when accessibility is bad and it's difficult for him. I record verbal exchanges in addition. Three verbal exchange, three categories for within group verbal exchanges. Off task, when they are speaking from everything but what happens the teacher, speak from holidays, speak from video games, and so on. And another category is scientific argumentation. When they are speaking from data, hypothesis, they are argumenting one against another. And task regulation, when they speak on how to do the task. Where is the next step? Where, how to do that, what strategy, etc. And what I obtained is that scientific argumentation do not depend on proximity. It depends of time. When the time becomes longer, there are less in argumentation. For off-task, when the distance of proximity becomes too great, they are in off-task. And it's the same for the time. And the task regression, there is some waves, because the video recording shows that the teacher stops the groups and they say he gives them some way to go ahead in the program. Do you have questions between now? Because after that we are going to ask your own spatial configuration of classrooms. So,
I just asked, you had the islands and then you have the word bus. What does that mean again?
Island bus.
Yes, sorry.
Islands.
Yes, islands, okay.
It's
yes, islands are okay. But the bus one?
Bus one is with a central path between the tables.
Thank you.
Hybrid is something with a long table and a long lateral table. And pen, comb, is the one I showed you at the beginning.
Thank you.
In the slide, next slide, I don't understand. No, the slide, sorry, the last slide. La dernière.
Okay, this one.
Cela. Can you explain again what these figures means?
I need this one to explain. With all these points, I have a big matrix with time, x, y, what kind of verbal exchange, and where is the teacher. So I make a game modelization with frequency of one kind of verbal exchange, and proximity and time. And these are the maps, the hotspots with the game modelization.
And the color means?
The color means that few of tasks, a lot of tasks, and the more it's brown, the higher of tasks.
So they are off task when the teacher goes away, or when they're fiddle.
I don't know.
They are off task when the teacher moves away, or when they are fiddle.
When the teacher is far from them.
But can you come back on the previous one?
Yes.
So the frequency of a task is much higher in this layout.
Yes.
That's a, what is the vertical scale?
Vertical scale is the frequency.
So I cannot read. But
Because we cannot read actually.
It's
okay.
twice more of task comments
Yes.
in the pen than in the bus.
I have something I can show
I cannot
you.
read. This is
60 compared to 20 frequency.
this is kind of.
This one is interesting to.
And it's the same teachers, right?
It's the same. Yes.
The same students, the same activity, no?
Same students and
Same students, same teachers.
The first time the teacher is in a class A. He's working about cellular division. And teacher is in comb. Comb configuration, class A and cellular division.
Okay.
And the teacher cannot do the same course.
Yeah.
So class B is in bus. And there is a second session where they are working about infectious disease. And class B in home and class A in bus.
And you sum the two.
So A plus B are the same. So it's the same teacher, it's the same students, it's not the same time because the first time it's not the
This is enormous. That just the layout of the room as such a triple is multiplying by 3 the amount
But
of tasks.
in the core configuration, accessibility is 7. In this one, it's 4. The teacher, when he's there and the group is asking for help, he can just go. But it is there and it's this group move over.
Okay.
It's too long.
It's a very
And
nice
the pupils have in mind that the teacher is far from them and they can do whatever they want.
Do you make a difference in the off-task measurement between the fact that the assistant is doing nothing or the assistant is moving?
Is the assistant or the teacher?
It's the teacher because it's a secondary. If we look at the maps, there is different way to use space. And the first teacher, the one that have comb and bus configuration, tend to move a pass forward. He walk in the room without stopping. The other two teachers sit down with the students. It's not the same way to teach. he's waiting, he move in the room and back and forth. And he don't wait a long time. I suppose perhaps it's the reason, it's one of the reasons there is such difference between of that.
The distance between the tables is always the same. The distance between tables is always the same.
It's exactly the
Because
same.
when you show the comb, actually, the previous picture, I think there are many science rooms in high schools that are not the comb, but actually the teacher, just the bags and the chair, the teachers cannot enter in these things, so it will be like a comb, basically, even if it's not a comb.
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay.
So Isabelle, I wanted to say, for those who don't know me, I also work with CAP, with Isabelle in CAP, and I was a primary and secondary school head teacher for 8 years, and I taught science, secondary level, in the school, so I've got 8 years of teaching experience. And one factor that's really important is there's almost a Pavlovian adaptation of school kids, because they know from experience, from when they're very little, that the further away the teacher is, and importantly, the more difficult it is for the teacher to reach them, the more time it will cost the teacher to reach them, the safer they are. So the more they feel that, the more they're likely to go off topic.
Yeah, that's clear. But it's nice to prove it. Sometimes there are
Of
things that are
course,
clear
of course.
and they're difficult to prove.
Yeah.
When you look at this
And that's
maps,
why it should make a big difference, because they feel the teacher's far away.
when the pupils are sitting there in the depths of
Yeah.
the tooth, they are very,
Yeah.
they know that the teacher will come.
That's the question. What is the pink and the blue indicating?
The
circle.
It's the blue is for boys
Ah,
and the
pink is for girls.
magenta for girls.
Magenta, yes.
Magenta
I
and
didn't
cyan.
get that, okay.
Yes, and it's interesting to I have there is a small difference between the way the proximity of teacher for female and males in the classroom. It's something that I can see with proximity. Yes.
The point I wanted to make is very close to what Ilya was saying before, but do you have a kind of a spatial map of off-task behavior? So let's say for the comb pattern, the off-task behavior is more towards the central node.
I don't know, because I record the group and I take the verbal exchange of the group. I don't know if this guy or this one is more in task. It's the global group. And when I recorded the verbal exchange, sometimes there is two that are working together, especially in this case, two are working together and the third one is do nothing or is playing. It's not the case for this in this picture, because the teacher has done something. He asked the students to put them face to face in order for the group work. And it's not the case there. And around the table, there is not the same structure of communication. It was one of the points previously. When students face together, they are more engaged in the task than when they are aligned along the table.
And the years of experience, did this matter, or there were similar years of experience? How long they taught, or gender and such other issues that did you combine those in your analysis?
There are gender issues, and there are issues about level of the students. One of the teachers is closer to performance students, and the two others are closer to students with low performance. They are more in help, and this one is more in, oh, this guy is answering well, I go to work with him. It's, there is some difference. It has to be explored. It's the very first experiment.
Another question, just to understand, you have just one sample of measurement for each configuration.
I have one for the configuration. There has been these two.
Yes, this
Two classes,
two
same
classes.
teacher.
Classes, 14 groups
for the
for
same, on the same, with the same teacher.
with the same teacher, yes. 14 group for this one, 14 group. And for, I have 10 groups there and 7 for this one.
What is nice is that we could believe that if we look at them like this, like a teacher has to, then but that's not enough. You have to go.
Yes.
And I just come from a class with 200 people like that.
Mm.
You have to go up.
And
I mean, and when you walk, they do something like that. Huh? If you walk, it's no. So it's not only eye contact is not enough. It's the
Yes.
body proximity.
the two of them are important. I discussed with someone who makes ethology, Roland Morel in Geneva, and he says that there is eye contact. It's important. The gaze is important, but the gaze is geometrical distance, and the proximity I calculate is a topological distance with the obstacles on the path. The two of them are important.
We changed the configuration of some of our auditorium, and we changed from a set of tables to long rows where you cannot access anymore. And the change was, I was just experiencing one of those changes 2 years ago, and I had to change room. It was impossible to do the exercise in that. The students really complained a lot. So it was one of in the evaluation was, the worst aspect of all the course was that.
Yeah, but there are other things like the distance from the board, the voice, and so on and so on.
I heard something in the metro 2 weeks after beginning there, and it was a girl who was speaking from physics, and they said, and the room is awful, you have to be very soon in the room if you want to go to toilets. It's not possible to, you have to disturb all the row. It's awful. And they were speaking from that.
It seems like actually architects do not have this kind of, probably you had a look to the literature, the metrics of accessibility to something?
Accessibility is a geographical concept. I am, I think, the first to apply this to a classroom.
But it's not only, I mean, if you had 1 meter between the table, then any configuration becomes accessible. It's really a question of, it's not only the absolute shape. If you have the cone with 1 more meter, probably the problem is solved. It's just a question.
Yeah, but even, Isabelle, even if you had applied this accessibility metrics to classrooms, but probably that they have accessibility metrics for other kind of resources.
Yes.
Could be toilet, could be bathrooms, could be, I don't know.
When you make your kitchen,
yes, absolutely.
There is a triangle for the ovens, washing machine, and the sink. You have to manage in order to have less way to do.
But a few years ago, I went to the main education conference in the world. It's a big one, 10,000 people. They were all the publishers. I asked every of them, do you have a book on school architecture? They said, no, but it would be a good idea. And so, I mean, there's probably some in architecture, but more on the outside envelope. On the inside envelope, inside our structure, that's even more important.
think it's also the way that practice in architecture happens. So the big architects who talk about phenomena or concepts, they really think of an exterior. But when it comes to interior, it's their apprentice who work on things. So it's not really, I mean, the focus really...
Not in the Rolex.
Also in schools you have the pressure of numbers, so typically,
Yeah.
especially in labs, the people who are designing labs initially don't realise all the resources that are needed. Plus you've got higher numbers of students coming in, so at some point, maybe a year down the line, or 5 years down the line, or 10 years down the line, more stuff and more people are crammed into the same space.
Yes.
And that's where you end up with tables that aren't really appropriate.
That's what's happening here at the GFN now, because we are densifying the auditoriums. So instead of putting tables, you put a row so you can put more students. You add an exit door, which is what they are doing now. They add extra exit door for security reasons, and that's done. And we can host more students. But then you cannot do the exercise in that room.
And in this map, it's interesting because there is additional tables, something you can left or put down. And the first time, all the additional tables were up, and the teacher worked a lot in this place. And the second recording, three of them were down, and you say that so that he prefer to move there. It's easier. The room modifies the movement. Another question? I don't know if we...
Yeah. So now a question, it's not part of your presentation here, but what's the case where we have, instead of one teacher, 6 teachers, like 6 TAs? Is there a way to better distribute them in a class like this, or should we just let them go wherever they are asked and needed?
I suppose it's an issue for this kind of rooms of scale up, because in this kind of rooms there are many screens, there can be many assistants, and each of them can work with the tables nearly to him.
So we designed technology for that in the past. Did you see the small lantern?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It was a small lamp, so that you put on the lamps for the TP. You put on the tables, then the color of the lamp indicates which exercise you are. 1, 2, 3, you turn the lamp. So if you're on 5, but everybody's on 1, you can wait. The time spent on the exercise means the leads goes up slowly, so they know, the TA knows how much you've been trying, because you have been trying for 1 minute. And then when you needed help, you push on it and it makes slowly and faster. And the time wasted, we saw that without that, the students are like that. They don't continue because they want to grab the TA. And with that, they push and then they continue. And then nothing more. He made a startup and he never took care of his startup, so the startup is dead.
He wants to sell the startup to me now.
Yeah. Let's discuss it.
And what about, is there an app that behaves similarly? Like I have the same problem this morning, to 100 students and then many just waiting, and you don't know to whom.
Yeah, we try exactly the same with clickers, and instead of being these nice little lanterns, it was a display, which team, which exercise, exactly the same information, and that works as well. And it's easier to copy an app. And except that there were columns with who is in which exercise, which teammate, which exercise, so it became a bit of a game board. You know, they were kind of competing. Especially the males in the room were competing to beat their friends, but that's okay. I mean, I guess we can do it with clickers or with speakers or something like that. Some of these clickers things we have, we do that.
To go ahead with that, I would like to present you. We have not any as time as necessary to do that, but I would like to present this. It's a paper, title is Hacking Spaces. It was, the study was done in Michigan State University, and I find it's a simple way to address the problem of how to manage a room. The author proposed 5 dimensions of learning spaces to be for this hacking. The first one is collaboration. In the room, is there some restriction of the number of students able to collaborate? Is there obstacles, something that can restrict this collaboration? Is there a restriction of movements? Something, a table or big stuff is in the room, and perhaps you can't move as you want in the room. What are the functional issues? What are the constraints with materials, specific materials? I think about physics or robotic. There's material in the room. This material need to be plugged, need to be. This is an example. There is a wire. It's not easy to move with the functional issue. Is there some restriction with sense? Is there something in the middle of the room and you can't see someone who is behind this big pillar? Is there a lot of noise in the room and the assistant can't speak aloud so the students can hear what he said? Is there darkness for optical experiences in physics? You have to have the room in the dark. Is there some restriction about leadership? The ability for the instructor to lead the class. Is there in this room there is a screen you can write. In some rooms there is no screen and the instructor has no place to share something with the students. So with this 5 dimensions you can examine the room and then put it in front of 6 learning activities. It's a study from University of Louvain in Belgium. And they propose 6 kind of activity: collaborative, seminar, debate, group work, application, exercise, case studies, problem-based learning, exercise, by projects, with group work and individual coaching. Individual, expositive, it's the teacher lecture from teacher or from students, and professional. It's a 6th learning activity. I suppose you have to match the 5 dimensions, the 6 learning activity, what are convenient for you, and what to do in the room. I propose this model to work with real case study with your rooms, if you want. Do you think it could be useful? How do you perceive this? Because it's not possible to have a jacket and to record each of you. If you, I am very interested if you want to have experiment with the jackets and cameras. But first, it could be interesting to design the rooms, the classroom, according to this.
and maybe since we're a little bit behind the schedule because of the discussion that we had, maybe this can be a homework for everyone present. It was supposed to be a collaborative thing, but since we had more discussion and questions, and I think that was useful, we leave maybe this for
For a workshop?
individual, yeah, or maybe a workshop, yes.
I have a question maybe related to that. To have, for example, worst configurations that you have identified by saying, okay, these probably are the worst that we can find.
Yes, I suppose.
And related to the activity, because it's not only something which is worse, it's worse with respect to the activity, and probably the best that we have identified with respect to the activity.
I think for group working, the islands configuration is the best, because the teacher can move on. One teacher or 3 or 2 assistants can move easily around the room. I think it's useful to have multiple screens around the room, because when you share some projects and you share a problem, you have to solve a problem, it's useful to have paper on the table or big sheet of paper or screens to write what you have in mind and to be able to show what you have in mind to the other of the table. If you are writing on a small piece of paper, it's difficult to share. So in scale-up classrooms, there was many screens, electronic screens, or paperboard or whiteboard is sufficient. So for group working, I think it's islands and multiple screens. One assistant, one screen,
This is
at the minimum.
The worst.
The worst is very long rows, like
the DLL
Francisco was, and the DLL that you showed me last.
No, there is also, yes, the DLL, yes. But there is also specific DLL
yes,
rooms
because
with long class.
Yes, it's a long class.
But if there are 6 different types of activities and each activity has different constraints in terms of space, the only answer is flexibility. Because, okay, this is nice for teamwork, but then I want to give a short lecture and Aditi is not looking at me, so I would say turn the table. And I had the same discussion, we discussed room design for Rosé and École International. I always tell them flexibility. Put wheels. For some reason, everybody is afraid to put wheels on the tables. And there, up, I say, okay, turn, come back. And for me, the left diagram means flexibility. If you need different configuration for different learning activity, which I believe as well, then we should be able to change. Here, they're afraid. You know, they want to screw the tables on the ground. In some of the rooms, they screw the table. In the Rolex, it was forbidden to move any table because of the order and blah, blah, blah. But no, we need wheels.
In secondary schools, teachers are terrified of losing time. Even 1 minute for moving tables, they don't want that because they've already got to worry about the IT working, they've got the kids to manage. It's just another extra factor which they will always say no to. They don't want flexibility. They want to know what they're coming into. They don't want to arrive 8 in the morning and find everything moved around.
And there are new kind of lab benches with wheels. You can move the lab benches, have something to collect the water, and if you make chemical experiments. It is something that emerged in secondary schools. And wheels, chair with wheels, it's something interesting. I tried in SP a room with chairs, there was wheels and there was a tablet for each chair. It's interesting for flexibility, but there is not enough space to write. It's difficult to write. But I saw that in university they recycle chairs with tablets, and they put different chairs together and put a whiteboard on the tablets. So it can move, and the students can write. It's a cheaper solution, but it's something I suppose it has to be tested.
One thing we try with OK is tables with wheels and small robotics engines. So when you leave the room, they go back to the place automatically. The room is always clean. When you arrive, it's always clean. But the chairs know that they belong to the mom table, so they go to the mom table. And the table tells them, follow me, and they go.
But I tried this kind of chair with small tablets, and
OK Spain.
it's easy to. It's easy to change configuration with this kind of chairs. But multiple screen, it's very, very important to have multiple screens for group sharing ideas.
I have a quick question. I've been in this room many times and I never know how to configure it. I find it interesting what you did today with the configuration. Was this on purpose for your islands?
Yes, but when we arrived in the room, it was big, and I wanted to, my mind, there was this, we don't attend this point, but it was for group working.
Yeah, but there is one table that is not like the others. That's the table of the boss, and the second of the boss, the co-boss. And they are really the authority table dominating the room. While we are the kids, we are on this French table.
They have to be on the table.
Yeah. We see immediately where is the fault.
Thank you a lot for your
Thank you.
question.